Jack, you'll have to pull this radio back.
This is all mine.
You know, you can enjoy. Yeah, around the other side of, you know, where the grass is well down. He's weird. My kid, he gets the best. Yeah, it's been about.
Too many things going on between the phones, radio, the beach. Someone's screaming at you, just radio, or turn left at.
Finally, you can sleep. You gotta get where I was. Don't ask me to worry.
What up?
Oh, you call back.
He did good.
Sorry, we just got hooked up. I'm sorry, I'm sweet.
Yes.
There's a few more things I think. I figured that. I'm down here somewhere. Oh, right here. Well, it all depends. It all depends on what they're at on it, like, and how long, how complicated. There's a lot of them here I thought could have been. The way the law reads, you got to do certain ones individually and then advertise them individually also. Yeah. Yeah, brother. Oh, yeah, they started moving. They started today. We started last week. We were doing it. All right. What we got? Oh, yeah. Is that what, yes, is that when everybody gets to watch TV? Yeah, I think it's. You never know who's more excited to get out. Yeah. I don't even know the bus. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody.
We live in Williams.
Yeah, that's
follow-up. Everything looks good.
Yeah.
Waiting to start there. It's one of the lots to do that. The way I understand it is they're getting smaller around the wrist and they get rid of the elbow lock. That'll be. Different topics. Different localized, all I got one to do.
I have a wider one.
First time the flag goes up. Other than oh. How are you doing, sir?
Y'all find him like that?
I can make a couple more chairs for somebody if they'd like to come around. You won't be able to see the screen that well. Ma'am? Ma'am, if you'd like to sit, you're welcome to. Y'all ain't been bad, it's okay. Other right.
Legal counsel.
And you know, I was really surprised because Saturday I went up to my college event Saturday. Obviously, it was a shock to everybody because they were really promoting. He announced he's not going to run for citizenship. I sort of understand it, just to be honest. If you listen to Mike talk, it's a whole Sure. Oh, we have a couple minutes. I tell you, that was a good event. There was over 500 people there, and they give tickets away to come and watch me with Mike for a few days. And they missed my number by 3 numbers. And I'm standing there with John Daniels. But the number they called wasn't intended to be present to win. They must have left early. The next number they draw was Jones, standing around beside them. All those people do that.
Hey, Brian. Please, be honest with you.
Just do it every once in a while. Make sure.
Sure. I'll go like this, you'll know which way to twist his arm. If the lever's the right way. It's the right way.
Okay.
Christine stepped out and turned the other TV on in the hallway in case anybody out there wants to watch. Just so you know. I said to Tony this week, I hope. Catch a break.
Not too early to jinx it, but I'll try that. Exactly.
I ain't working for EMS, yeah. All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Madison County Board of Commissioners agenda setting work session for May 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m. We'll now call this meeting to order. And I will be as brief as possible with the chairman's report, because we just had a meeting last Monday. We've done a long list of updates then. Construction will begin this week at Highway 98 and D. Williams Road. Please use caution if you're traveling Highway 98 in this area, as we will have construction workers on the shoulders of the roads. If you're not familiar with 98 and D. Williams, that is across from Double Oaks Golf Course. So please be cautious going through that area. We have started pursuing the well sites off McGinnis Chandler Road. We are in the middle of getting some prices together for potential start to test some wells up there, or pop some holes for some potential wells. And lastly, patching of our road surfaces has begun. We are patching roads all over the county currently. There's no individual round or order that they're being worked on. The paving company that won the contract starts where they want, and they go to the closest road and try to keep them the same proximity to keep the cost down. I do know tomorrow, I think they're doing some patching on Jotham Down Road. That's where I know they're at tomorrow. But with that being said, that's about all I have for a chairman's report. We'll move straight into business involving guest groups, multiple visitors, SPG. How you doing, sir?
Good. All right. Ben Prue with SPG Planners and Engineers. Good to be back, and I just want to thank the board for the opportunity for us to work on the comprehensive plan for leisure services. I do have a printout if anyone needs it. Looks like most of you have it. I know this may not be the item that is drawing the crowds tonight, so I'll try to be brief and go through just a quick review of the changes since the last report draft was shared with y'all. So in March, we delivered to the county the updated report for the comprehensive plan for leisure services. And for those that aren't as familiar with that, that is looking at the recreation department as well as the senior center, the improvements, recommendations, funding opportunities, and recommendations for those organizations. lumped together as within the umbrella of leisure services. If you want to take a look, the table of contents has not changed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a second. Commissioners, it's the very last tab in your book. It's like the last 5 or 6 pages in your book. It's the summary.
On the summary of changes.
Yep. So we'll just jump to that. I just want to quickly go through those summary of changes, so just so you're all familiar with what has changed since the first draft. The index and table of contents and the structure of the report has pretty much entirely remained the same. On the next page, you may see there an overview of the summary of changes. These are mostly just general updates. So number one there, just edits to the document throughout most of the chapters, just improving the clarity and efficiency of the report. Nothing structurally there. Number two, there was a request in the last meeting to just mention the existing software that the county is using and mention that by name in the report, and that's RecDesk. The recommendation was just to further implement that system for both the rec department and the senior center. Number three, the only requested edits and changes that we had on input from those concepts was on Cliff Mize Park. And just the request there was just to allocate some additional parking. So that is reflected in the document as well as the concept plans in the appendix. Number four, just added an additional cover page to the appendix. So the master plan comprehensive report includes all of the content. It also includes some smaller sections of the concepts for those parks. A larger 24 by 36 file is what has all of the existing conditions and the proposed concepts. That are rough, those would then be used to produce engineering documents. But those concepts are within the appendix. If you turn the page one more time, if you're looking at the summary of changes, that's just an opportunity to see the changes of the parking on Cliff Mize Park. So the edits, those were what we reviewed and as requested, updated for you all, but happy to answer any final remaining questions that the board may have.
Protege is at the door.
Mel is here as well to answer questions, so.
A couple things quickly. Was there anywhere, and I may have missed it, two things. One, was there a recommendation of hiring a director for leisure services to be over rec and in here anywhere?
I'll let Mel speak to that. I think we wanted to, allow some interpretation of how you all might want to pursue any of those structural changes, but we'd love Mel to kind of comment on that.
And lastly, the question I have is, was there a structured order as far as how to proceed on this scope of work? Like what you would do first, second, third, fourth, as we move forward? Obviously, we know that water runoff is a major issue now that we're going to tackle that probably right out of the gate.
Yeah, what I would say is, within those recommendations, I would consider those recommendations as kind of an opportunity for you all to prioritize which park facilities you'd like to address. For the most part, most all of those parks do need substantial engineering, stormwater engineering. So, and just in regards to a lot of those proposed concepts, in the overall, recommendation of focusing on just what is existing and make those improvements first. But as far as park by park, we have not quite prioritized that. Within each park facility, we have suggested maybe 1 to 3 years or a little bit longer term. But by all means, I would encourage you all to review those and tailor those as needed. So, but we have given a little bit of a suggestion of maybe the timeline for some of those items.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any other further questions before we hear from his cohort?
On the acknowledgement page,
Yes.
Just one little thing. It's got Commissioner Adam and then Commissioner Chandler is District 2, and I'm District 3. On the acknowledgement page, you got District 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Okay. We can easily add that.
He was out that day.
He was
Oh, you're on there. He's here.
My name's on there.
It's just,
Yep. Yeah, we can adjust that. Send that out to y'all. Anything else?
Gentlemen,
No, I'll turn it over to Mel to maybe just touch on that point
I
for you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hey, man, my apologies for being a little late. There was traffic in Iowa of all places, so. Okay, so let's see. What was your first question? Was there a direct recommendation? I could hear part of it in the back.
Was there a direct recommendation anywhere that, for a potential, director for for the senior center leisure service program and the rec department, like an ultimate point person for both?
We did not make that a direct recommendation. In going through the process and hearing from the members of the community and then looking at each of the missions of the two groups, we did keep those separate. I think that's something you could explore in the future, but I think there's some fundamental, a lot of the issues that people were seeing wouldn't be solved by coming up with one director. I think it is, let's go ahead and fix some of the internal things that are going on, go ahead and get those. There's efficiencies in some of the processes and some of the software. And in those areas, as far as sharing resources and in improving efficiencies, there is definitely opportunity for both of those groups to work together because there could be sharing, like I said, of the resources. But to have one director, I don't think the community was ready for that. And I think if you do both of those entities, get those sorted out, you might find that there isn't a need for that, but I think that's something you would cross coming down the road.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions? If there is, we'll send you an email. Thank you both. Thank you for the good job that y'all done. We really appreciate it. It does give us a scope of work to move forward on. We have picked out some certain areas that we do want to spend some time on right out of the gate. We all obviously have some grant funding available, and we're fixing to put that to work in engineering services.
Okay, and one thing I did want to add to your other question about the priorities, we tried to keep that flexible and set things up with the highest priority, kind of medium and low, because depending on the types, and you're going to be dependent on some different grant funding and things, depending on what comes available, even though you're focusing over here, this grant might fit better over here. So we want to give you the flexibility to apply those funds where they would fit best, but understanding that within each of those parts, there is a set of priorities.
I appreciate you acknowledging that.
That makes
Thank
sense?
you.
A question on your program section. You mentioned comparing us to peer counties. And specifically you said, looking for the verbiage, but essentially you're saying we're not staffed sufficiently to offer the programs that you feel like are needed beyond the age groups that we have. So based on our peer groups, what would be your staffing recommendations, again, and I base this on the number of people that are served, so you can have a specific number in your specific directions.
So I think you guys, right now, you're below the NRPA recommended level in a lot of different areas.
Based on those peer communities, and that's based off of your budget and your population, looking at those. But you create those numbers based on the number of people served or the county population, or what's it? Standards.
Without having it in front of me, there's standards based off of your population, but also on the amount of expenditures per person in the county, and looking at the amount of staff per capita. So in comparing that with the other communities, and again, this is based on National Recreation and Park Association data that they update. That was what we were looking at, and I don't have it in front of me. Let me get the screen, I can see which one you're referring to, which page.
Hold that up. She can see
On page 27.
I don't think she has a copy. Here's my name. There you go. Now I've got it.
Thank you.
And I will add to that, in the recommendations and the action plan, there are a couple areas where we do add a recommendation for hiring additional staff for certain areas. And a lot of that is to be able to free up the current staff for some of the responsibilities they're currently stretched in on. You said that was on page 26?
Yes, 27.
And 27.
Okay, so you're looking at the program participation and then what people are wanting. And then looking at these different types of classes, and yeah, when you cross that.
Get a statement from athletic programs are well established and widely utilized. The department has limited capacity and staffing, restricting its ability to expand in a broader recreational offerings.
Right, okay, now I see where you're talking about. So looking at that, what is happening now, people are attending well, and you've got this group of things that you're offering out in the world, which are largely focused around youth athletics. And you've also got some staff with some admin duties that are also doing double duty or kind of stretched a little bit thin, so you have can't think of a good term, but basically if you want to start getting into some of the other programs for the other groups, some of the passive programs, then having some of, especially the volunteer programs and things that will bring people in, offering that wider array of activities, you're operating kind of at max with what you've got now, so expansion you would need to shift and look at what you want to add. And especially when we were looking at some of the opportunities where you have some of the low-hanging fruit that could possibly be taken care of by volunteer initiatives, that was one where if you can pull some of that off of the current staff and let them focus on programming, a little bit of restructuring would help, but also getting those opportunities to get some of those other positions to really make your offerings more robust.
Any other questions, John?
But the notion of we're behind the curve on the staffing, per standards, though, as programs, we start implementing the recommendations based on funding and desire. For example, if we expand one area a little bit more, then we could focus an additional staff person to kind of come in and look at that,
right,
or take up the slack there, and any additional duties as necessary. But it's not. Obviously we're not building out the master plan tomorrow, so
right,
it is a gradual.
It's a gradual, so as you increase some areas, you're going to have the support that goes with that. Just like anything you build new or add anything new, you're going to need the staff and resources to support those areas.
Would it be safe to say at this point that if we use this as an outline and we start shifting personnel, that it would be to the detriment of another activity that we're trying to grow to? If we move people around simply because we've got 20 over here and we've only got 10 over in here, then we're missing them. Does
right.
that make sense?
Well, and part of what I know, part of what's in the recommendations here, especially when you're looking at operations, is getting some of the tools that are available with software, getting some of the redundancies where you might still be doing some things on paper, and looking at fully utilizing, because right now, people, the way the parks are used, it's kind of overloading some areas and not loading other areas, and so that kind of ties to your people resources. It all affects each other, but there's a number of areas, when I say a number of areas, it's kind of a situation where if you can get some of these efficiencies in operations, you would be able to reshuffle some of your staff duties to be able to free them up to offer, again, some additional programming. But then when you want to add whole big chunks of new things, you're going to need more staff. But I think giving staff the tools they need to be able to operate more efficiently will free them up to be able to actually be more proactive and less reactive, because I feel like currently the staff's in a very reactive state. They're just trying to respond to what's coming at them and doing the best that they can with what they have.
All right. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christina, do you have any questions or comments? Because I know you're behind the scenes on all this. So. Young lady. All right, we'll move into the public hearing, action zoning matters. Mr. Canola Scott.
Evening. All right, we got quite a bit tonight, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. I do apologize to begin with that I'm not very good at pronunciation of names, so if I say someone's name wrong, I do apologize. All right, number one, LeBron Petroleum is requesting a dual rezone for a 6.2 acres from A1 to R1/AR. He is requesting to rezone a 1.5 portion from A1 to R1 to split to give to his mother, and is requesting to rezone the remaining 4.74 acres from A1 to AR to bring property in compliance with present zoning regulations. The property is located at 102 Nice Commerce Road in Commerce on map 0002, parcel 045 in District 1. During the public hearing, there was no one to speak in favor of, there was no one to speak in opposition to. After much discussion, the Planning and Zoning voted 5-0 to recommend approval.
All right, thank you, sir. LeBron?
Oh.
Are you comfortable with that presentation, or is there anything you'd like to add, sir?
I mean, that was a pretty good job, not my side. I haven't answered any questions though.
All right, so first I'll ask, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this rezone request? Anyone here to speak in favor of this rezone request? Hearing none. Gentlemen, do you have any questions before I entertain a motion?
I do have, I don't know if y'all discussed this in the meeting or not, the 60-foot access easement going through properties 002044. Are you the owner of that property also, or is that?
I am not, sir.
That existing 60-foot access easement, is that to the current parcel that you own?
That's correct, sir.
Was that discussed in your?
Chairman, I think that was discussed, and I believe that they're planning to use the same driveway for both to access to both.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right. I'd like to maintain good neighbors and just use the driveway I have.
Which is on the part of the property that you do own.
That's right, sir.
All right. Do not entertain a motion.
Make a motion, this rezone request be approved, this statement.
I have a motion by Commissioner Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kirk. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Terry?
Oh, no.
All right.
No.
Brian?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a great night.
Our next one is John and Amy Dodds are requesting to rezone a 5-acre portion of their 33.83 acres from A1 to AR to split a gift to their son for a home site. The remaining 28.83 acres will stay in the A1 zone. The property is located at 0,000 Oaks Drive in Danielsville on map 008, parcel 021 in District 2. During the public hearing, there was no one spoke in favor of, no one spoke in opposition to. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-1 to recommend approval.
All right, thank you, sir. Mike, I think I said that backwards a minute ago. Mr. Dobbs, Ms. Dobbs, are you comfortable with that presentation, sir, or would you like to add anything to it? All right, good deal. Gentlemen, is there anyone here to speak in favor of this rezone request? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this rezone request? Hearing none, we'll close the floor, bring it back before the board. Gentlemen, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move this rezone request be approved as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Chandler, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Adams. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Mr. May?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries, sir. Y'all welcome to hang out the rest of the night. We're gonna
The next one, the 1-0 Ball is requesting to rezone this 12.33 acres from A1 to AR. To split a 4-acre tract out to gift his mother for a home site. The property is located on 0 Duncan Swindle Road in Commerce on map 0011, parcel 039-08 in District 1. During the public hearing, there was no one that came forward in favor, no one came forward in opposition to. The Planning and Zoning voted to recommend by a 5-0 vote to approve.
Thank you, sir. Balzabal, Mr. Balzabal. Is you? Are you good with that presentation, sir, or is there anything you'd like to add?
No, it's fine, thank you.
All right,
I'm sorry
thank
for
you.
coming late.
Is anyone here to speak in favor of this rezone request? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this rezone request? Hearing none, we'll close the floor, bring it back before the board. Gentlemen, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, this rezone be approved as stated.
I have a motion by Commissioner Adams. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Chandler. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Mr. Kirk?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries, sir.
Thank you.
Y'all are also welcome to stay for the rest of the night.
Okay. Next one, Brian Kimsey with Carter Engineering, applicant for LJ Colbert Incorporated. Requesting to rezone his 12.64 acres from B to I, business to industrial, to operate a concrete block manufacturing facility. The property is located at 0 Highway 29 South in Hull on map 0032, parcel 22 in District 3. Mr. Brian Kimsey with Carter Engineering and Mr. Steve Banks with Quality Block Company presented a PowerPoint presentation and addressed the board and answered all questions. During the public hearing, there was much opposition for various reasons, and I won't try to stand here and go through all of the reasons because I think there's a lot of folks behind me that probably want to speak. So there's no need of me trying to go through that. But the Planning and Zoning, after much discussion, listening to both sides, voted 5-0 to recommend a denial of this rezone request.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start this, Mr. Kimsey is going to come forward to go through the same presentation as he did with the P&Z. give the Board of Commissioners an opportunity to see it. You will have an opportunity to speak. If you're in opposition, I would ask you to keep that to 3 minutes, and please do not be repetitive. If you have something that we haven't already heard, please feel free to let us know about it, how you feel about it. But for the sake of time and how many we still got to go, none of us wants to be here till midnight. But we will hear you. Just please do not be repetitive. Mr. Kimsey, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to talk today. My name is Brian Kimsey with Carter Engineering. I'm going to go through PowerPoint. As I go through that, I'll hopefully be able to address any issues, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. So this parcel that we're looking at, that is, the parcels are not exactly right on this, but really I just want to show here the existing conditions. You see, you've got houses on the back north side. You've got a tree cover buffer around the property, and then the frontage is borders 29. So you got the next one. The owner of the property, as the gentleman's already mentioned, this is looking to rezone from B to I, and this is unfortunately Madison County doesn't have a light industrial zoning, so this is what this use is very light industrial. I'll go through that in a second, talk about the actual product that they're producing. But so we're asking for rezone for the current owner, who will then sell the property to Mr. Banks, who is Quality Concrete Bank company. The parcel, as I've noted, is bordered by 18 properties. Northeast property line is bordered by Windsor Heights subdivision. Northwest property line is bordered by several properties. You can see residential properties, and then southwest is bordered by a couple commercial properties, business properties, and the southeast property line is bordered by Browns of Athens subdivision. You can leave it on the second sheet for a second. Sorry. The subject property will utilize 2 buildings for the quality block facility. The main building will be approximately 24,000 square feet, and then a 3,000 square foot storage building on the side. You see the big building on the side there, small little storage building, 3,200 square feet. It will fall into the 7.9.1.7 manufacturing in the Madison County Municipal Code. The site will consist of 5-foot sidewalks at the building and curb and gutter throughout the parking lot. Parking will be provided for the industrial facility to meet the Madison County Code of 1 space for each 3 employees on the maximum working shift, plus 1 space for each company vehicle. The facility will have a maximum of 10 employees and 1 company vehicle. The proposed parking lot will provide 16 regular spaces and 2 handicap spaces. The parking lot will be paved, striped, and curb and guttered. The development will be accessed across the frontage property in a shared access drive. The intent of the front property will stay business, it will stay commercial, and then the back piece is what we're asking to rezone to industrial. The future development of the commercial property will utilize the same access drive. The drive will be a paved, concreted, probably, 24-foot wide 2-lane road. The proposed facility will be approximately $9 million in construction costs. The site will drain, if you can notice at the top, towards the residential subdivisions, that property drains back towards the houses now. There'll be a stormwater management facility pond that will slowly release the water. Now it currently just washes off the property into the development. It'll be slowly released in the pond. Buffers and setbacks. So I'll show a landscape plan in just a second, but the proposed setbacks: 65 front setback, 10-foot side setback, 10-foot side setback on both sides. The back part of the property, you see the existing tree line, this jagged line of the existing tree line you saw on the aerial image before. We're maintaining the majority of that, except for the pond area. The code requires 10-foot buffer. We're actually increasing that to 50-foot buffer. We're talking about putting a 6-foot tall berm, landscape berm on the back property line to prevent those houses from being able to see the facility. The entire property will be paved except the back. The back will be block storage, and then you see the material storage bays for like sand, gravel, etc. in those areas. Traffic for the proposed development is not expected to be very heavy. The owner believes most of the peak traffic to the property will occur during the week between 8 and 5. That's his proposed working hours. Traffic will increase during peak hours as staff arrive in the morning and staff go to lunch and as they leave. Again, the development is expected to have approximately 10 employees. We're anticipating an average daily trips for the property of 40 trips, which includes, they'll be offering retail, some retail. You as an individual want to come buy blocks, you can be able to do that. The water supply, the proposed commercial and office development will utilize county water. The anticipated water usage is 2,000 gallons per day. That's based on the current facility and what their usage is today. Their current facility is located in Athens. It's been there, that facility's been there approximately 60 years, maybe a little longer. They've owned it for 10, I think. It is surrounded by residential. If you've been to the facility, if you know what I'm talking about, it's just outside downtown Athens. You go to the next page. These are the views that you see from the street. View from US 29 north towards Danielsville, at the top left, top right. View from 29 south towards Athens. View from 29 north towards Danielsville, the lower left, kind of angled towards the property. And then the same view from 29 south towards Athens. That's the existing curb cut that's there now. We will utilize that. There'll be no new established curb cut. This just gives a little bit of rendering so you can kind of see a little bit more about what we're talking about, what we're leaving as far as the landscaping around the surrounding properties. This facility here is what we're modeling this one after. It is the concrete block facility in Newton, Georgia, 198 Quarry Road. That footprint that you see is almost identical to what you'll see. The reason I've shown this is they did a study at that facility to talk about the sound that's coming from that facility. So decibel levels, you can see the top, this is probably the packet, but the top right shows what current decibel levels are for certain things. So like rustling of leaves, 30 decibels, you can go all the way up to a helicopter, 100 decibels. Outside the door, immediately outside the door, without vibration, 50 decibels. If you go 250 feet from the door, 46. 1,000 feet from the door, 46 all the way across. So 46 equates to a refrigerator room. So that's what their study, not ours, the existing facility study they had done on their site. That's produced for them. Go to the back. In your packet, you'll see the existing facility. This is what that facility looks like as far as looking into it, not from above. It is currently metal facility. The highest peak is about 30 feet, and then the tower there is a little taller than that. Mr. Banks is willing to do split face block instead of metal siding to give a little bit more aesthetic look from the main road. What you'll hear tonight is something we hear from most rezones. You'll hear discussions about noise, we'll hear discussions about traffic. We'll talk about there's no traffic. And then another discussion we'll hear is about the dust. And so this facility, well, the reason I said it was a light industrial facility, it's all inside. It's all the blocks are made inside. There's nothing outside. They store materials outside, but they don't make anything inside. So you will hear forklift backing up, trucks backing up. That's about the extent of what you'll hear. Dust, that is a gravel lot in the back, so, over time they'll have to, you know, as the rocks degrade, they'll have to, maintain that. But there's no anticipated dust. There's not that much back and forth. There is a conveyor system that takes, material inside the building. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. One more thing before I mention it. For the current facility, or the current property zone business, you could have under the current code, you could have hardware store without storage. You could have public shopping center. You could have a small grocery store, shopping center, lights. There's very little light pollution by this facility. They'll have enough for security during times of getting there in the morning and leaving in the afternoon. But I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have now or later.
We'll wait and let you take notes on the questions or give you an opportunity for rebuttal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, is anyone here to speak in favor of this rezone request?
I can't wait. Oh, Lord. I'm Steve Everett, and I represent Laura J. Everett, who is too afraid to come up here and talk to you nice guys. So anyhow, I'll tell you of what kind of back up what Brian was saying. I look at the higher and better use of properties when we buy them. I do this every day of my life. And in this case, when you look at what Mr. Banks is about to try to do on the property, you can't beat it. The traffic, it has minimal traffic. I had someone tell me, what about a super Walmart? Well, what about a super Walmart? 10,000 cars a day. This site is not a Walmart site. It's not a hardware store site. You got to have visibility from the highway for most retail stuff. So the commercial on the very front would be retail. I don't know what it'll be. It could be a hardware store. We got approached once by Tractor Supply. It could be something like that, or it could be fast food or whatever. But when you look at the rear and you look at the amount of buffer and stuff on the property, the people in the neighborhood behind it are insulated. I mean, in a huge way. They don't realize it, but there's another alternative, and it's an RV park. I can put 200 RVs on this property, and it's already zoned, and they can't say anything about it. You know, there won't, and that's what I hope you guys understand.
You gotta speak to us. They'll hear you. They'll hear you. There's my.
Yeah. But the thing is, there's the alternative use of this property is detrimental to the neighborhood behind it, and it's zoned for it. All I do is go submit my plans. When you look at buffers, this thing has a huge buffer around it. And, you know, at the planning commission meeting, I heard dust, noise, all of this stuff. But I talked to a guy that works on the air conditioners at the plant in Athens. And he told me, I asked him about it. He said, Steve, you don't hear the thing running? I have never seen any dust. They got a gravel parking lot. So it's one of those things, and it's surrounded by residential development, all coming in after the fact. When you look at the entrance of it, straight across the road is townhouses. They're probably 10 to 15 years old. So when you, and I know what you're about to hear, but I'm telling you, this is the best case scenario for the property. And I was surprised to hear that someone like Stephen would want to do it. But it's a perfect location for him, and it's the perfect situation for the county. It brings a business into the county. It helps grow and develop the county in the way that you want to do it. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak in favor of? Mr. Banks, you want to speak in favor of? All right. Anyone here to speak in opposition? All right. We'll start in the front and work our way to the back. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good evening, my name is David Carey, I live at 76 Madeline Court. I'll try to talk fast. On behalf of the members of the Bryce Landing Phase 2 Homeowners Association located on Highway 29 in the Dogsboro area, I'm here this evening to ask that the rezoning request of parcel 32-022 between the VA Assistance Building and the Crossword Church be denied. The zoning board unanimously and resoundingly voted to deny this rezone attempt, and my statements this evening are in support of your decision and to reiterate the objections presented to them on April 15th. While we are not opposed to all industrial growth, we feel this is not an appropriate site for industrial zoning. In fact, it would require significant effort to find a site that is more inappropriate than this one. The Madison County 2022-2042 Comprehensive Plan, page 54, specifically states that the Dogsboro area is planned as primarily commercial retail, and the policy is to, and I quote, encourage development that is both compatible with existing and future land uses and consistent with community character, end quote. This is not, in our opinion, consistent with the community character of Dogsboro. Furthermore, the entire South Madison County character, as defined in the comprehensive plan on page 52, is planned to primarily feature residential and commercial retail with a policy of development that is both compatible with existing and future land uses and consistent with the present community character. While the comprehensive plan suggests that most of the other defined character areas in Madison County be considered for both commercial and industrial growth, it specifically states that Dogsboro should be considered for commercial growth. It does not include industrial. This site adjoins a residential subdivision on two sides and a church on the third side. That alone should prevent the rezoning of this parcel to industrial. While there are questionable responses to the submitted analysis requests, such as question number 6, will the proposed change adversely influence living conditions in the neighborhood? The answer was no. Does anyone really believe that having a concrete block plant in your backyard is not going to affect your living conditions? Question 10, will the proposed change adversely affect property values in the adjacent area? The answer again was no. Imagine showing your home to a potential buyer and the view from your patio is a large concrete block processing building. While Mr. Banks has stated that a berm and trees will be planted to block the view, this is a questionable solution at best. Also, he has stated that security lights would be mounted around the facility. We assume they would be on all night, every night. Would the trees block the view of them as well? Question 11, will the proposed change be a deterrent to the improvement or development of adjacent property in accordance with existing regulations? The answer was unclear. How can it not be a deterrent? Who would want to put in a cafe, a beauty salon, or any other retail business directly serving all of our citizens next to the plant? There are other answers on the report that point to this being a bad idea. Number 15 already admits this is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. Also, the analysis narrative by the zoning administrator, Tracy Patrick, has already noted that this is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. While the hazardous aspects of silica in cement-based products will certainly be present, there are other issues to be considered. A, the noise of machinery. All of those stated would not be a problem from within the building. The noise outside with facility operations such as trucks and forklifts, which probably have backed-up beepers, would still be a problem. B, if they use high-pressure autoclave method of curing Venting the steam will probably cause even more noise. C, the dust will certainly be present, even though promised to be controlled by watering down. And D, the heavy truck traffic, especially trying to make a left turn on Highway 29 without a traffic light. Mr. Banks has estimated about 40 truck entries to the facility per day. These will be both deliveries of supplies such as dry cement, sand, and very small crushed rock, which is a guaranteed source of dust. Also, the shipment of finished concrete blocks on flatbed trucks. That equates to 40 large departing trucks trying to mainly turn left onto a four-lane highway through an existing cutout in a narrow median. There is no doubt the drivers will pull out and stop in the median, leaving the rear of their trucks partially blocking the northbound traffic until they get a break in the southbound so they can complete their turn.
All right, I'm gonna have to move on to the next one. We're gonna move it up on that one, okay? But thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to give everybody an opportunity to speak. Please take the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Dwayne Bruno, and I live at 184 Hidden Lake Drive in Hull. Can you put up the graphic with the existing, on the sample concrete block? Just two quick things, Todd.
Sure.
Okay.
Good to see you.
You too, buddy. The thing that, this is a nice looking plant, right? But the thing that's missing here is if you look here and here, there are no homes. There's nobody raising families here. Nobody walking their dogs there. So I'll leave you a question. Would you like a concrete block plant in your backyard? You have to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Speak in opposition. Yes, ma'am. Come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Caitlin McDonald, and I live at 411 Bedford Drive in Windsor Heights, so one of the properties that got the letter. I'm not even really going to go into noise or traffic or dust or the things that have been brought up as potential effects of this particular company. I more want to touch on the rezone to industrial in general and what that does to us. So, I know a kind of similar request came up in 2023 that this board heard and that the zoning board heard. And a lot of the stuff that I heard from this Board of Commissioners in that meeting still affect our situation today. So in that case, the property was allowed but non-conforming. So I think some zoning stuff had changed after the fact, and he was trying to get it properly rezoned to industrial. And, people in the neighborhood were like, oh, we don't want to rezone to industrial. And a lot of the things that I took down, the exact quotes from this Board of Commissioners, acknowledged, and I quote, once it's rezoned industrial, there's a huge list of things that automatically qualify. And if they, the voting commissioners, open the door, we can't regulate which industry comes in. So I don't even necessarily have a particularly huge issue with the concrete plant, but I bought this home in the last 5 years. I looked what was around it when I saw that the area behind my house was undeveloped. I'm trying to have kids and live in this house for 30 years, and maybe my kids will own it later. I know that there is residential around the Athens one, but that's near downtown Athens, so that is a premium location that people might be more willing to take a bit of a risk on, and those people knew where they were moving when they bought that house. They were not surprised, and in particular the townhouses. I think those are rented by Rent Athens. Those are college students who cycle in for a year or two, and they're not playing with their kids in the backyard. There is a level of, risk that they're willing to take on, which I get. Speaking back to the comprehensive plan, it does say that we are going to have actually an excess of industrial and residential land, and we will be short commercial land that we need. So it actually talks about doing the opposite of what this rezone would do, and it lists 5 out of 8 character areas were marked with the primary use of light industry or rail-related industry. None of those areas were Dogsboro or South Madison. So when this comprehensive plan, which took a ton of time, I'm sure, and effort and public input was put together, these 2 affected areas did not come up. It's not even listed as a secondary recommended use for these areas. It lists some really nice things like commercial businesses, restaurants, outdoor plazas. For Dogsboro, it points to a Coney Crossing as something that we want to emulate. Like the gentleman, before me said, there's just if you're going church, grocery store, clinic, and then concrete factory, it's not really in line with the vision that this commission had input in. I get the industry has to go somewhere, and I know that there are contentious areas in the county where it comes up, and some of that was overruled and is still in the comprehensive plan, but these areas did not come up in the comprehensive plan as being even for light industrial. I would certainly encourage the county to explore coming up with sub-levels of industrial the way we have residential and things like that, but at the end of the day, property values are affected by being next to industrial zoning, and part of that is I read a study, health and amenity risks, whether real or perceived, translate into economic risks as well. So home buyers, again, maybe this concrete plant really is fine and the dust won't be that bad, but people are unwilling to take the risk when they're trying to live somewhere for 30 plus years of what could go in after. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
My name is Charles Townsend. We own a house at 453 Bedford Drive. We are kind of on the corner behind Eagles, and currently right now, we got enough light pollution as it is. They're talking about the drainage pond, where it's going to be slow draining. The drainage pond just turned into a swamp. The water will stand there, it'll stagnate, and you'll have a mosquito problem. And I can sit on my back deck now. I can see the trailers that are over there next to the VA building. Clear view of those. I can see trucks going down the highway. They have cut so many trees out from back there. And the back part of my property is wooded. I already got a buffer. And I don't see how them adding their buffers is going to make any more of a difference. I could probably see myself losing $100,000 worth of property value. Because I would not be buying that house if there were a concrete block behind it. I don't want to try to be repetitious, but that's one of the issues there. And the truck issues, the trucks cannot make a left turn out there on that highway. They have to turn to the right, go down to the light, make a U-turn to go to the left. We have enough accidents along that stretch of highway now, and I think that in itself is going to create a deadly situation. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but I appreciate you hearing me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, yeah, come on forward.
Good evening. My name is Pat Cuneo. I live at 130 Hidden Lake Drive. C-U-N-E-O. I lived in Hidden Lake for 10 years. My family has been part of the leadership of the Homeowners Association for the past 6. And when we reformed 6 years ago, this situation is exactly what we talked about, forming to create a collective voice and to protect the property values, to protect the health and safety and well-being of our neighborhood, our community. I know that this group is no stranger to the concept of not in my backyard. When you think about putting an industrial manufacturing facility in the middle of an established, bucolic, thriving, well-maintained community, it makes absolutely no sense. It defies logic, it defies common sense. And in addition to that laundry list of environmental and financial impacts that this possibly has, I'm also concerned about the language in the presentation we heard in favor of it. It might, we don't anticipate a lot of noise. We don't anticipate a lot of traffic. We don't anticipate a lot of dust. But if and when that all starts happening, it's too late, regardless of what the anticipations were. So we, you think when you're, as a physician, you take a solemn oath to do no harm. As a police officer, you take a solemn oath to serve and protect. I see this group as doing both of those responsibilities, respecting our common security, doing no harm, and really I urge you to follow the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission in a unanimous vote to reject this request to rezone. Do no harm.
Thank you.
sir, you're on in. I really wasn't expecting many of this. My name is Lawrence Davidson, and I live at 316 Virginia Lane, and I'm an attorney. A couple of things that I noticed. I'm not prepared because we got a little thing in the mail attached to our mailbox. Town was meeting tonight. I thought it was kind of interesting. I've been hearing about certain things. Haven't really been involved, even though I've lived here for 21 years. A couple of things struck me when I was looking at the different videos. Our neighborhood is fed by a well. Where is the stuff going to go from the plant when it gets piped out of there? I am already not drinking from our taps because they give off an odor. It's just going to make it worse. This stuff runs. It runs downhill. I don't care how many berms you put up. I don't care how many trenches you put in. It finds its way around and will go to the lowest point. And the lowest point is our well water. Second thing, we've been hearing dust. Yes, dust is only one form of what's known as particulate matter. Particulate matter is blown into the atmosphere, and anybody with bronchitis or asthma or any kind of breathing difficulties will easily tell you they don't go out on smoggy days. They try to stay away from people that smoke. So far, we haven't heard anything about how particulate matter is going to be taken care of by this plant. Yes, Georgia does have a form of the EPA, but it is so ineffective because they've given it all over to the federal government, which is now cutting everything. So we can't even rely on the EPA to help us out. There has been a little bit of discussion on vehicle damage, but not a whole lot. Making turns is just one element. If anybody's driven that road at night in the rain, they will know it is one of the most dangerous intersections and stretches of road on 29, from here all the way down to the loop. Also, people that have lived here for any length of time, at least I'd say within the last 10, 15 years, will remember there used to be a forest, a nice wooded area right next to the Crossroads Church. That's no longer there. That's why this is being built or picked out to be built there, is because those woods were torn down. It's changed the migration of animals, their feeding, their hibernation, and the noise. Even though I live a little bit further in from 29, you can still hear it when you're in front yards. My front yard faces 29, but on the opposite side of the road. There's no such thing as an effective noise barrier using trees and man-made material.
I'm going to need to move on in just a second, sir.
I'm getting right there. Finally, gentlemen, ladies, there's a very successful area in South Hull and part of Athens off of Boyles Road. There's a lot of construction and a lot of what we would call light industry. That's a park. That's where this belongs.
not where it's residential. It's too dangerous, and it's not right for where we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Thank you.
Dave Crouch, 172 Hidden Lake Drive. I'll try to be quick. Had a number of points to make, and my friends and neighbors have made most of them. So just want to ask one question. I think this plant sounds like a good idea for Madison County. I know we're trying to build business. My question is, why does it need to be there? We need to hear why it's better for the county, better for the people, better for the government to have that plant at 0 Highway 29. Because what we've heard is that I know they would make an effort to keep the dust down. There's going to be dust, there's going to be noise, there's going to be traffic. Property values are going to plummet because they do. It's going to hurt both us, the homeowners, and also the county. It's going to affect the tax base. So it would be great if the board would ask on our behalf, ask Mr. Banks and Mr. Kimsey, how is it better for Madison County to have this plant at the location?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Go ahead, young lady. We'll let you be the last one. You got to top everybody? Oh, yes.
Hey, good evening. Could you guys pull up the 3 neighborhood picture, like the aerial view?
Yes, ma'am. Give us your name and address.
My name's Alyssa Aldana. I have lived at 232 Bedford Drive since 1986. I now have the privilege of raising my kids in the same kind of nurturing, quiet, wholesome environment that I had the advantage of being raised in. I graduated Madison County 2001, UGA 4 years later. And I'm really here, it's honestly, it's a quality of life issue overall. It's a safety issue. The air traffic, or the air, ground, water traffic, and noise pollution in the middle of these 3 long-established neighborhoods. I, as a kid, rode my bike everywhere. I went from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood. We had friends all over. We still know our neighbors' names. We still play together. Our kids still play together in the streets. And honestly, we already have a water runoff issue ever since Ingalls was built, honestly, going all the way back. And so water, the whole neighborhood is honestly slanted a bit downwards. I won't slur the guy who built it. But yeah, so all the water, when it rains, it flash floods, and it comes straight down from behind Ingalls, down all the way through the back side of the neighborhood, which happens to be my street. When that happens, the septic tanks fill up with rainwater. We're not able to flush. We have people, I mean, everybody in the neighborhood is pumping out their septic tanks every 6 months, every year, just something ridiculous, something not recommended. We already have a huge water runoff issue. You can see it when it flash floods in our neighborhood if you guys want to drive through it in the ditches themselves. The water doesn't drain off properly to the creek. Adding any water to our neighborhood would be disastrous, absolutely disastrous. We've had neighbors dig up septic tanks and relay their new drain fields, and it still goes back to the same root problem, that water does not flow properly out of our yards. We literally have ponds, lakes, pools. I mean, it's ridiculous. When it storms, it storms. We can't flush for days. And it doesn't matter if we pump it or not, because it's just a matter of when the rainwater goes away, and the tank's empty again, you know? So it's not really worth all that, but we have tried absolutely everything, and this has been an ongoing issue. I cannot imagine adding 1 drop of water, much less a funky swamp of a cesspool pond. I forget what the word was he called it. Sorry.
Retention pond.
Retention pond, I beg your pardon. I can't imagine 1 more drop of water coming to my house, coming to any of my neighbors' house. It's not just my house I'm worried about. All of us. The water is insane. It's unreal. It's been needing help for a really long time. I can't imagine adding air pollution. I can't imagine adding dust. We have grown our own garden in that neighborhood since my great-grandmother was alive. Literally, like I said, since 1986, we garden. You know, we have chickens. We try to be self-sufficient. We try to eat, you know, whole foods that we grow ourselves. And adding silica to the air, what's that going to do to the vegetables my kids are eating? I don't use pesticides. I don't use anything whatsoever. So this whole plant and what it proposes to bring to what my kids consume and breathe, I mean, they're walking out the front door and it's in the air. So yes, the noise might be annoying? I don't know. We won't know again until it's too late. But the water pollution, the ground pollution, the air pollution, the dust pollution, and then the traffic pollution, of course you guys know at Hart Mathis, there's a fatality there way too frequently. I cannot imagine one more car in between me and my commute to work in the morning just because traffic is already fogged down really bad at 8 and 5, just trying to get through the Kroger light and then the McDonald's light up there. It seems like there's 1,000 cars that came out of nowhere that they weren't there, I swear, like a year ago, 18 months ago. So I can't imagine adding some more 18-wheelers to this aspect. So, I mean, for me, it really is a quality of life issue and the quality of my children's lives, because I'm raising them in the house I would raise them.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Give me 1 second, sir.
I'm James Harden, 177 Hidden Lake Drive in Hull. I moved to Madison County in '72 to teach school. I taught 1 year at Madison County and then moved to Athens. But here's the thing, since when I was living out at Diamond Hill, I used to try to keep up with how many people were killed on 29 from Athens to Danielville, and it got up close to 50 people. I lost count. I can't keep up with it anymore. Now, in '95, I moved to Hidden Lake, and the worst thing I have to do every day is try to get onto 29 highway. And already there have been about 3 or 4 people killed at the intersection there at Harvey Mathis. Now, I would stand here and tell you, I'll bet you that within 5 years, if you agree to this, somebody's going to get killed with a truck entering 29 highway.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
For the ones that's in the hallway, she's gonna step out. Give me 1 second, young lady. Just make sure nobody's out there, and then you can come up, and you'll be the last one, I promise. And we're gonna move on.
We're good.
And for the record, I've been taking notes here. I'm gonna try to help if Brian, whether one of us will try to answer some of these questions. Yes, ma'am.
I have to say something. My name is Janet Fox Davidson. I live at 316 Virginia Lane. I've been there 20 years. I walk dogs all the time, and I think that this is a terrible idea because I have a BS in biology, and the soil, the air, the noise is terrible with this thing. I don't care what he says, it's not going to work, it's not good for us, and I am opposed to it.
Thank you. Mr. Kinsey, you're welcome for the rebuttal to try to answer any of those questions, and I know you're going to pick out a few of them.
So I made a couple notes. I'll just rehash a couple things. I'll be brief. Just a reminder about this could be many, many different commercial uses. The traffic could be worse than what he has here, he's proposing. There were several noted about 40 trucks a day. It's not 40 trucks a day, that's a 40 total. That includes all employees, so less than 10 trucks per day. So if you had a commercial operation there, let's say a hardware store, there'd be a lot more trucks than that coming in and out. That's number one. Number two, view from the houses. We've done the best we could with this as far as we've established an additional buffer with trees, a 6-foot-high berm with with trees on top of that berm. I would beg to argue that it would be very difficult to see this building from those back of the houses. Light pollution was brought up. There will be 0-foot candles at the property lines. 0-foot candles. So there'll be no light pollution. It's not going to be like Ingles Shopping Center. Noise, again, we talked about the noise. This is not based on anything we're making up. This is based on an existing facility that they tested. And so you can go to Athens and hear it yourself, or you can you can go to the one in Noonan and hear the same thing. It's an enclosed building. The noise of the operation is inside the building. The only thing you'll hear outside is some traffic with forklifts and moving equipment around. A couple conversations about walking the dogs, and be when kids play in the yard. The time of operation is during normal work hours, 8 to 5, not on weekends. If it was operating on weekends and afternoons, evenings, I would agree with that, but they're quitting it at normal work hours. Also heard comments about wastewater from the operation. There is no waste produced from this operation. It's a closed system. They use 2,000 gallons a day. That's nothing. That's very, very little water per day. Your typical house that you have will use about 500 to 600 gallons a day. Just your house. So this entire operation that they're talking about is very, very little use of water. So there is no wastewater. There is nothing leaving the site. There's nothing going to the sewer. There's nothing going to the ground other than sanitary waste. We talked about the dust. There is no dust from the operation. The only dust that could occur out here is due to the traffic going back and forth. That's the only dust that's possible. I will say this, because this is light industrial, and because of what we're presenting here, this is a binding site plan. So the type of use that we're saying here is what we're proposing. He's not planning on changing that. He would have to come back before you guys if he decided to change to something else. So again, I would just encourage you guys to think about what could be there and some of the arguments they've made. This is a very, very low use operation. I'll be glad to answer any other questions you might have.
No, I have more statements than I have questions.
You get me to sit down then?
Yes, sir. Unless the board has questions. I'm sorry. Does any of the board members have questions for Mr. Kimsey? Hearing none. Ladies and gentlemen, first off, thank you for coming. I wish you were here every week. Or I'm sorry, every month or every 2 weeks. We're here twice a month. I do appreciate everyone coming. I do appreciate the dialogue back and forth, the pros and cons. But I want to make a few statements before I close the floor and bring it back before to entertain a motion. It is correct that Madison County is undergoing a rewrite of our zoning ordinance. Currently, light industrial and heavy industrial is being looked at by the CPL firm. It is not completed yet. I feel, and I'm speaking solely as the chairman of this county elected by 32,000 people, I feel what I hear the loudest is fear. Fear of the unknown. Scared to take that step and what it's going to look like. That's what I hear. I would ask, how many of you in this room has visited the site in Athens? All right? Good deal. Good deal. I did too. I also visited the one in Elberton. And did anybody that raised their hands hear a noise at the one in Athens? What did you hear?
We took a decibel reading.
What did you hear?
The moving around of the material, bigger than forklifts, but that makes more noise than some of the
You mean the
internal
backup
machinery.
on the loader itself that loads the trucks? Is that what you're referring to?
No, even just the machines moving, like the sand and small rock, just moving around, even like the backup noises and stuff.
Thank you. What about you two guys?
I aggregate from there from time to time. It's a dusty, dirty place.
It's funny, I didn't see no dust.
Okay, you gotta go there and,
I was there. I thought they were closed. And I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm just telling you what I saw. I was there. And I also visited one in Elberton. I thought they were closed until I knocked on the door and a gentleman come in and says, "We're open." And I'm like, I thought, "Is the plant running?" He said, "Yes." About every 60 seconds, Mr. Banks, I don't know how often the little vibrator noise works to settle the concrete on it. About 60 seconds.
Yes.
So every 60 seconds I heard a hum. Like, Now, I heard that because I was standing beside the building. I drove down to the entrance where this comes off the main road, which is approximately, I'm guessing, I didn't measure it, but I'm going to say about 400 feet away from the actual building. The hum was silent. I could not hear the hum, and ladies and gentlemen, I got hearing aids to amplify it. So, I'm not arguing your point. I don't want you to think I am arguing your point. I just want to state a few facts. There is a difference between light industrial manufacturing and heavy industrial. Right now, we're just using the word industrial, and I think that's putting off the wrong message. A couple points that I took notes on that I wanted to address is, unfortunately, Harvey Mathis, it's DOT. There is a wreck there all the time, and I wish they would address that, but we can't control that. This is in the fastest growing area of the county, is that Dogsboro area. You see it every day. If you go to Athens, you see Athens Tech coming at you. You're seeing that building coming at you. You're seeing that traffic coming at you. Could you imagine today if this board was faced with putting Walmart, an Ingles, Publix, and what that runoff is going to look like? What that oil running out from under those cars look like in that parking lot? What that noise pollution looks like? What that light pollution looks like? This board tonight will decide lesser of which evil. While the concrete plant may fail, something may come that may be much, much worse that we don't get an input in. And I appreciate you, Bruno, because, Bruno, you sat on P&Z here for a long time. I thank you for your service to our county. But a couple of other things that was mentioned, and the young lady that grew up there since 1986, the retention ponds, just for clarity, is a slow-release pond is to actually help your backyard from flooding. They do it. That's why they're designed by engineers. That's why they're required in Madison County. There is a civil site plan on every commercial business or commercial business site or industrial site. We have to have a civil engineering drawing done to catch that water before it leaves the property. So actually, that pond is going to slow that water from coming on your property. That was the number one benefit I saw in this plan when it was being proposed, that we finally found a solution to fix that water problem that's been haunting you for years, because it will. If anybody understands how retention ponds works, that's what it does. Property values. I did speak to the tax assessor's office, and he told me that this plant, no matter where it's located in the county, if it was located in Comer, it would not affect the next door neighbor's property value. It doesn't work. We said value. It may affect your buyer, but it ain't going to affect the value. That's what I'm saying. Make sure you understand the difference. The DOT truck traffic going in and out of there, for whether they can or cannot make a left-hand turn or not, that's not for us to decide. That is for DOT to decide. If DOT steps in on the construction, if it goes through, if they step in and determine they need a turning lane put in, then DOT will determine that. We will not. It's not in our scope of work. I'm a little confused on the wells because I know Piedmont serves some of that in there, but maybe not all of it. You may know better than I do.
It's a community well.
Okay, it's a community well from Piedmont? Yeah. Okay. And then the last question I thought was a very, very good one was why 29 and why there? The answer, me speaking as chairman only, it's there because it's Highway 29. It is a 4-lane and it is the fastest growing area. I will say from this block company, he services Clark County. He's been there since 1950 or 60, as I heard, right? And when I did visit, I did see the houses, and they're right up on top of this building. There is no 100-foot buffer. Those things is up on top of the building. Matter of fact, one's right up on the hill. I appreciate every comment, negative or positive. Please don't be fear of change, because change is coming, whether it be this topic or the next 10. There is 200 acres at that red light for sale today. Today. 85 in one tract, 119 in the other, 2 5-acre tracts and a 7-acre tract. and it's all at the red light. Traffic is going to be something we're all going to have to deal with because people's going to sell their land. Most of that's already zoned business and commercial. Don't confuse business commercial with manufacturing. If this was a rezone that was a concrete plant that manufactured concrete and had concrete trucks coming in and out all day long, I would be very concerned. But after what I saw personally in Elberton, which is a mixed-use plant, by the way, and you will hear a little bit of noise out of the concrete, trucks mixing. This does not concern me at all. And I say that with a gun range in my back door. About 200 acres, Valley Farms, is right behind my house. I appreciate, one more time, there's 32,000 people in this county. And for each of you sitting in this room, it may not be on this topic, but on other topics, you've all said to yourself, this county needs industry. We got to have something to lower our taxes. Man, we need industry. Why can't Madison County get industry? We have an opportunity, pass or fail tonight, to set an example of what we want to look like. Do we just want to be taxed to death on our rooftop? Or do we want to bring something in to offset it? Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate it. I will now close the floor, bring it back before the board, and gentlemen, I will entertain a motion.
Well, before I make a motion, I just.
Oh, sure.
To make a couple of statements. And thank you all for coming out and speaking tonight. I always have to write my thoughts down because I don't want to get up here and ramble and seem foolish. But y'all touched on everything that I was going to say. So I don't want to just sit and reiterate everything that y'all said, but I do want to say for us that we have spent a great deal of our time and effort focusing on responsible growth and trying to follow the comprehensive plan as closely as possible when we're talking about these zoning changes. Somebody mentioned the zoning change, the request back in February of 2023 that was at the metal recycling place that backs up to Hannah Heights. And the argument then was the same thing as my argument now. Industrial zoning does not belong right up against R1 zoning.
Right.
Whatever. And I don't think there's anybody in the room that has said, I don't want a concrete plant in Madison County. That's not what anybody that I heard said. It just doesn't belong right there in that spot, surrounded by R1 and a church and other business zone properties. Because who wants to put a business, a store or whatever in front of a concrete? I mean, it really would make it less appealing to other businesses, future businesses looking to come in. And you're right, it is a rapidly growing area. We've seen it from the time they built that Kroger. Everything is expanding, but not industrial, not coming up 29 right there. You talk about turning out on that road, you can't turn left on 29 right there. You can only turn right. And they're going to turn right, and they're going to go to Glen Cary Road and turn right. And we already have 18-wheelers that are cutting through there with signs on either end of the road that says, no through traffic over 6 wheels. But they do it anyway. And that's just going to increase it. And we just got that road paved, and it's going to deteriorate it even faster. So, the Dogsboro area, again, looking back to the comprehensive plan, because that's what I try to make most of my judgment calls on, is what the comprehensive plan is. We spent thousands of dollars, countless hours, getting this thing prepared, all the meetings, all the things. Mr. Carey, has already quoted the comprehensive plan just like I was going to do. I even had it written down. Dogsboro is planned as a primarily commercial retail growth zone. Future character should include a combination of big box stores and outdoor plazas with sidewalks and potential for outdoor cafe and restaurants. That is what I envision for Dogsboro. I think that's what a lot of the people who live in Hidden Lake, Virginia Lane, Windsor Heights think of when they think of Dogsboro, and they think of that commercial growth in our area over there. And it also says on page 55, still talking about Dogsboro, commissioners should consider adjacent existing land use and zoning change requests to ensure compatibility of use. I don't think that an industrial zone is compatible with all the R1s that are right there around it. And again, I'm not saying that we don't want business, we don't want industry in the county. It's just responsible growth is what we have been working for as long as I've been here, which has only been 3.5 years. But I want to continue that. And just to close out, I would just say that we don't need to sacrifice the comprehensive plan or the adjacent property owners in order to gain the business. I hope this company will continue to work with me and continue to look for a piece of property that's better situated for their industry. It's just, in my mind, it's just not like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I entertain a motion, that's the best part of what you're seeing tonight, is people making statements like that. It's pretty awesome. You don't see that in a lot of counties. All right, gentlemen, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that this rezone request be denied.
Have a motion by, I looked at your name. Mr. Ray. Yeah, that guy beside me, yeah. Do I have a second, gentlemen?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Doster. All right. Any discussion, gentlemen?
One of the comments, or not comments, one of the considerations that I took into this is the desire and the need for the business commercial development area. And I know I can't predict what will be there tomorrow, but I know what's there today. And what's there today is, it is sewer. It is a sewer tract. And so when you look at existing facilities, existing utilities, that's hard to come by in a small area that we have and the cost that it takes to put those facilities in place. Now, we want to grow that to a certain degree, but we know that's probably a long time and a lot of money away. So for a facility that I believe could be adequately located in another area and serve as well, I don't have any objection to the facility. I think it's the property, the look at it, and the use of facilities where, you know, we've got water and sewer there. It's a low impact from a water standpoint. It's even a lower impact from use. They're not even going to tie in the sewer. They're going to just put in a couple hundred feet of drain field and be done with it. And I think the remaining of that tract is right. I can make no promise for the future. I just know what's there now, and the facilities that we have in place, I believe that can be better utilized.
Thank you. Any other discussion, gentlemen?
Just a couple of things, and I wish this process didn't have to be this way. To me, there's a much better way to consider potential industry for the county than going through a rezone process. It tends to send the wrong message. If any of us were being realistic, I would absolutely say that this type of industry is a perfect fit for Madison County. I think and we have to be careful when we're making arguments about it. I don't want to condemn the industry. I think Commissioner May did a good job of stating it. Our role, and we don't get it right all the time, but our role is to look at the potential for an industrial zone. So our question is it appropriate for this parcel to be rezoned industrial based on comprehensive plan, based on character of the area, all those things. That the question for us is industrial. It cannot be an indictment about what that potential industry is. And like I say, all of us, I'm committed to be 5 people up here saying that this is exactly the kind of industry that we're looking for in Madison County. The question is it appropriate for this parcel to be industrial? Mr. Everett and I over the years have had several conversations about potentials for this property, and something's going to have to. Industrial zone is the question. Thank you all for your comments and for being here tonight. And thank you for the industry for looking at Madison County. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Commissioner Adams, any comments?
No,
If I were to envision this particular use of the parcel in presentation to us, I probably would have tried to get it to conform to the open ground that's available on the parcel now and leave the expanded buffer zone around rather than reduce the buffer zone to what we say the buffer has to be. Perhaps elongate the property and have it fit into the space. You know, if nothing else, and here again, I appreciate the opportunity presented to the county for a business like this that is going to be around forever. You know, that what they produce is not going to go away. To look at Madison County, I'm also very sensitive to the concerns of the people who live adjacent to this parcel. But growth is coming, and one of the things that frightens me for Madison County, and Steve and I have known each other a long time, and I know he's got a great deal invested in our county in development and property here, is the next buyer, the next person that looks at this parcel may not be as sensitive, and please understand, I'm not being the devil's advocate here, but please understand, they may not be as sensitive to your wants and needs as what these people do. They may say, this fits it to a T, walk in down at zoning and planning and ask for a permit. This is a done deal, man. And so, I guess, as the devil's advocate, while I may not feel that this is the particular site where this needs to be, we, as citizens of Madison County, have got to be careful about what we want and about what we don't want, because what you don't want may be the next thing that comes across to you. And then you won't have any voice in it. And that won't be anybody at this table who have that option either. So,
Thank you, Commissioner Adams.
I just want to make one statement right quick.
Please.
I agree with what's set up here, and I'm not going to belabor the point. This is the kind of business that we want in Madison County. It's just, as we've said in this particular area, it's not at this point where it should be put at, I guess, is what I'm looking at. But, you know, when we start looking at the same thing that's been talked about of industry coming, we as a county, and I'm 4th district, man, we're the most agricultural place in the county, all right? And that's what I represent. We have got to look at, even in the agricultural areas, about sometimes some change is going to happen. Some of these farm things are going to get larger and bigger, and they're going to be, you know, a little bit more. We've seen it. We see more chicken houses want to be built on property and things like that. So we've got to get ready for some change. And so just be prepared for it. Look at it. I agree at this point that this would be a much better facility in a different location, somewhere a little out of that area where it's so heavily residential, and that is in the comprehensive plan is being commercial. So, but let's do get ready for some change. I've been on the board. This is my 6th year, and this is my 68th year in Madison County. So, you know, I've seen a lot of change, and sometimes we are behind the times in Madison County because we couldn't deal with change. We need to start dealing. Thank you.
Thank you. So my comments, based off the Commissioner's comments, is one thing I failed to mention a minute ago, because I heard a lot about traffic and cars and what that's going to look like, and the calamity of all those vehicles. Mr. Ebert, correct me if I'm wrong. about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, you proposed 450 apartments on this property, right?
That's correct.
That's 900 cars. And we couldn't stop it. The only reason it got stopped is because our sewer capacity wasn't big enough at the time. 450 apartments. That's not residential. If it's owned by a corporation, that's business. Again, I fully agree with the sentiments of everybody at this table, including my friend Mr. May. A lot of good things have been talked about here. But fear the unknown, not what you know. Because it could go the other way because we are expanding that plant. We've already got letters in the EPD to expand that plant. So, depending on the vote tonight, be prepared what may come that we can't stop. With that being said, gentlemen, Mr. Adams.
Motion is to deny.
Motion is
Yes,
Motion
is
is
to deny.
which is a yes. 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 Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Motion fails.
Motion carries.
Motion carries, I'm sorry, motion carries to deny, I'm sorry. Mr. Banks? You know, I tell you what, sir, I hope you look in Madison County and I will help you. You're always gonna be in somebody's backyard. I wouldn't necessarily clap because you don't know what's coming. Be careful. I'll call you. Find you somewhere else. All right, Scott?
All right, we'll move on to the next one. I'll get ready to have your information.
Anybody need a bathroom break while they're clearing out? Good job, either way. All right, Mr. Scott.
All right, we're gonna take up, Brooks York. There's two different things here, but we, planning is on, we took them up together.
Please.
Okay? Brooks York is requesting you rezone a 2-acre portion of her 27.51 acres from A1 to AR, combined with a 2-acre portion from her adjoining property, for a total of 4 acres for a home site. The remaining 25.51 acres will stay in the A1 zone. The property is located at 1265 Mathis Road in Danielsville on map 37, parcel 29-02 of District 2. It's also requested to rezone a 2-acre portion of our 27.49 acres from A1 to AR, combined with a 2-acre portion from her adjoining property, for a total of 4 acres for a home site. The remaining 45.49 acres will stay in the A1 zone. The property is located at 1265 Mathis Road in Danielsville, map 37, parcel 029-03 in District 2. During the public hearing, no one came forward in favor. No one came forward in opposition. After much discussion, the Planning and Zoning voted 5-0 to recommend approval.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Shore? Are you comfortable with that presentation, or would you like to add anything to it?
I am, but I'm comfortable with it, or if y'all have any questions.
We'll see. If we do, we'll get them to ask you. Anyone here to speak in favor of this rezone request? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this rezone request? Hearing none, we'll close the floor, bring it back before the board. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, on items number 5 and 6, essentially creating one new 4-acre AR zone and retaining two 25-acre tracts. Stay in A1. I move this rezone request be approved as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Chandler. Do I have a second, gentlemen? Second by Commissioner Kirk. Any other discussion? We don't have, we probably do.
Oh, yeah, that door has to stay open.
Yeah.
Just stay open.
I know it's loud. I'm sorry.
I couldn't.
Don't worry, that security guard will hustle into the door down there. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Motion carried.
All right, our next 3 items on the agenda were taken up in one vote. Courtney Barron, applicant for her parent Stacy and her brother Johnson, is requested to rezone their 2.02 acres tract from AR to A2 combined with a 7.98 portion for their adjoining property for a total of 10 acres to be gifted to their daughter for a home site. The property is located on 0 Brewerfield Road in Danielsville, District 2. She's also requesting to rezone her 22.16 acres from A1 to A2 to allow a 7.98 portion to be combined with her adjoining 2.02 property for a total of 10 acres to give to her daughter for a home site. The property is located on Brewerfield Road. Is also requesting to rezone their 2.06 acres tract from A1 to A2 combined with their adjoining property for a total of 16.22 acres. The property is located on Brewerfield Road in Danielsville, District 2. After much discussion, there was no one came forward in favor of this request. No one came forward in opposition. The Planning and Zoning Commission, after much discussion and deliberation, voted 5-0 to recommend approval of these 3 rezones in one vote.
Thank you, sir. Barron, Ms. Barron, are you comfortable with that presentation, or would you like to add something?
I'm happy with that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this rezone request? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this rezone request? Hearing none, we'll close the floor, bring it back before the board. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, items number 7, 8, and 9, considered together, which would create one new 10-acre parcel, and the balance of these will be brought into compliance with A2s. Move the rezone request be approved as presented.
A motion by Commissioner Chandler, do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Adams. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Commissioner May?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Rezone question.
All right. Kerry Brown, applicant for Chris and Wendy Burrows, requesting to rezone a 2.19 acre portion with an existing home from A1 to R1, split and sell his sister. The remaining 35.91 acres will stay in the A1 zone. The property is located at 3741 Moon Grove Church Road in Danielsville on map 28, parcel 106 in District 1. Mrs. Brown addressed the board and answered all of our questions. I'm sure there's gonna be some people that come and speak for and in opposition, so I won't waste your time trying to go over the same thing that they were gonna go over. But, Mr. Burrows came forward in favor, and there were, Attorney Rick Corbin came in opposition. So, after much discussion, hearing both sides, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-1 to recommend a denial.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Ms. Brown? Councilwoman Adder, would you like to speak?
I would love to speak. Many of you know me as a Burrows instead of Brown, but obviously that changed in recent years, so some of you I haven't spoken with. But ultimately, the goal of our request is really, it's pretty simple. This is my grandmother's home that was built in the year 1900, and the way the land is situated, you know, the question came up at Planning and Zoning, why 2 acres? Why not do AR4, which is, of course, what is the, quote-unquote, what is common in that area. And it really just comes down to the situation of the land. It's a narrow piece of land, heavily situated in the back. And I did provide this image, if you will, to Planning and Zoning, just to show some of the surrounding lots that are also somewhere from, we've got as small as a 0.6 acre directly across the driveway from the existing driveway, all the way up to roughly 3, but mostly in the 2 and change in that vicinity. And I have also, we've spoken with most of those neighbors and all are in support of our request. So I want to make sure that that's also known as the people that are directly across and behind it, in most cases that we've spoken with, have no issue with this request at all. The question came up is why R1? Ultimately, it comes down to lot size. That was the recommendation, even in conversation with Tracy Patrick, our Planning and Zoning Administrator. We weren't going to meet the 4 because it's just not available without encroaching on the existing pasture land, which is in conservation, and that is what we want. This is land, and actually, what you see here, all of this line here, this is my parents' driveway. All this land here was all one parcel that was actually divided between my grandmother and her 2 siblings when her mother and father passed. And so this land, my family has been on for almost 200 years, and it is our extreme desire to raise our family in the house right there, close to my parents as they get older. My brother, who actually owns the property, that was part of my grandmother's wishes when she passed away, was that the land would stay in the family and continue to represent the family as it had for almost 200 years. In the conservation plan, there's several things that are commented where we are located, and it's to protect the natural resources. To require us to do 4 acres encroaches upon the existing pasture land, which is where cattle, or if it was cut for hay, whatever the case may be, because of the shape. It's an irregularly shaped piece of property. So to require 4 acres encroaches on that. And so that is ultimately what it comes down to. I did go back and watch the regular business meeting. Unfortunately, I didn't see that until after the public hearing for Planning and Zoning. That question came up is, well, again, why 2? And somebody suggested, well, maybe that was all she could afford. Well, that's, again, it's not affordability. It is practicality of the situation of the land. And quite frankly, it's going to land in our family, pardon the pun, for as long as Christopher and I have the breath in our lungs for it to do so. So if part of the comprehensive plan's policies are to protect the natural resources, then requiring an additional 2 acres to be taken out of that natural resource simply to meet an AR does not make sense because it is existing farmland. I also wanted to, could you go to the district map that was shown there? I apologize, I did not see, I think it was on down, this until today because it was uploaded as part of the agenda. What you see, again, I'm sorry. You're fine. This is the tract of land we're discussing. My aunt recently, as recently as November 2023, as part of the estate process, She inherited 2 acres, and so for whatever reason, at that time, it was recommended she do R1, and so R1 was done here immediately adjacent to the driveway, and what we're talking about here. And I'm assuming this is District 1's map, but what you see here is you may see only 8 R1s here, but there's actually 24. And so, I don't know, y'all, I'm a visual, I apologize. I'm happy to email any electronic version that somebody may want of this, but R1 is actually not uncommon in our area whatsoever. Now, there has been some discussion about Julie Hart's recent application that was, I guess, maybe discouraged by planning and zoning. I don't know that the initial application ever went to a vote, and then she resubmitted in compliance, and it was approved. But I want to point that she is just over a mile in the opposite direction of all of these R1s. So if we are to be penalized because of her situation, I ask that this be taken into consideration, which is a quarter of a mile. I can see the beginning, I can see Booger Hill Road, this right here, from the driveway of where we are. So it is not irregular. Unfortunately, the map is a little bit misleading. It's not intentional, it's just the district and the way it's laid out, but there are quite more R1. So it is simply, R1 is coming down to lot size, and that's it. Let's see if there's anything else. I think that kind of covers my high points there. Happy to answer any questions anyone may have, but it is hopefully up for your consideration to recommend that we get approval so that our family, which my husband eggs here, most of you have not met him, even though he's from Melbourne County, he is a good egg, and we really, you know, he bemoans that. I give him a hard time all the time, but, you know, ultimately we just want to be able to purchase the house in the 2 acres so that it is ours, and we can continue to make improvements on the house and raise our family there. I have so many fond memories. Most of you may know my parents live directly here. There's a kind of a cutout here, but there's a chicken house here, an old poultry farm. My grandparents stopped doing poultry in the early 90s, and so it's storage now. But I have so many fond memories of trekking from my parents' house to my grandparents' house as a child, because quite frankly, they lived close to the road. They got cable, we didn't. And so we would go in the afternoons, spend the afternoons at my grandparents', have a snack, do whatever, and I'm...
Carrie, I got you.
I know. But I'm saying I want to afford that.
Give them time.
Understood.
Anybody in opposition, anybody else in favor?
Yeah.
We'll catch up on that hayride later.
Yeah. Well, no, I just want to afford my children the same opportunity to go in reverse.
I get you.
That's it. I'm done. Thank y'all.
Wasn't trying to cut you short, but 3 minutes.
No, that's fine.
All right. Anyone else here to speak in favor of?
I'm Mike Burris. I live at 3697 Middle Church Road, and I live on the back of this property. I know over the past few years, because I know this day was probably coming, I talked to Mr. Scott when y'all were considering 2 acres. Didn't know if it was going to happen or not, but I talked to Todd, same deal. And it was at 5, and then I don't know if it went to 2, and then ended up at 4. But the comprehensive plan, in my understanding, is so 2 y'all can use to control growth. Well, this request has no growth. Everything's intact. It's just about 2 grandkids, and my comprehensive plan, when me and my wife's gone, Chris is going to be in my house. Carrie should be in that house. So it's very important to me that it's considered 2 grandkids or 1 grandkid wanting to buy their grandmother's place. The house is 125 years old. They're in the process of remodeling right now. So I really would appreciate y'all's consideration to approve our request. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else here to speak in favor of?
Real quick, I won't take much second. My name's Michael Cleveland, I live at 775 Chandler Road. I know a lot of times you guys have got this comprehensive plan, we gotta stay to it, I understand that, but there's a few times I think we gotta really use our common sense. And when it comes to the final wishes of the estate, and I just really, think I heard you guys say a while ago on that block plant that, you know, it's a great fit for Madison County, just not right here. Well, I can assure you, this is the best family you'll ever need anywhere, and they are in the right place. I really appreciate your consideration to approve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak in favor of? No. Anyone here to speak in opposition of? Sure. Name and address, please.
My name is Drake Corbin. I'm at 167 Lee Street in Jefferson, Georgia, 30549. And as was indicated earlier, I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you about this one. You know, ultimately, this is nothing personal. I'm here on behalf of my long-term friend and client, Mr. Justin Arthur, as well as my clients, Chris and Aaron Dove, and a few other concerned neighbors. And they were able to put together a petition that aggregated approximately 59 signatures in opposition to this. But ultimately, and I won't belabor the point, and I'm going to co-opt some language that was used earlier in the concrete block discussion. This is ultimately not about denying all residential growth. It's about denying residential rezone in an area that it just doesn't comport with the rest of it. It's inconsistent with the comprehensive use plan in this area, which is rural conservation. Mr. Arthur owns a farm that is directly adjacent to this. It's an active farm. He has 8 chicken houses out there. Ultimately, the Franklin family has a large tract of land that is bordering on the back of this one as well, that is currently a 130-acre.
Can you use that map to show us where you're referring to?
It would be this tract of land right here.
Okay.
And that's the Franklin family's property. And ultimately, everything approximating in this area is agricultural or AR. And it just doesn't comport with that. And my client's ultimate concern is that if we continue to piecemeal divide out R1 parcels every time someone in the area has a family member that wants to move in, or every time somebody passes away, the entire area is going to be R1 before too long. And ultimately, we just ask that the Board of Commissioners stick with the comprehensive use and stick with the recommendation of planning and zoning to deny this.
Are you sure you understand what we're talking about? Or is your client or whoever hired you?
Well, I think ultimately the longer-term concern is we've already had...
I mean, the Justin guy that lives behind you.
Yes.
Does he understand what's happening here tonight? This house already exists, right?
Yes.
Not carving out a piece of property, as your definition was carving out a piece of property and building new houses to create more R1. We're talking about a number, but we're talking about a house that already exists. I just want to make sure your client bordering this property understands this house is going to be there and they're moving in one way or the other, whether we draw a line around it or not.
Sure, understood.
Okay.
But the concern is longer
I'm curious about that.
If we continue in the planning and zoning narrative, it's mentioned that there's an existing R1 parcel, and that's because this was done one time previously. It's been asked within 2 years to do it again. The concern is they've already mentioned a very large family. Not only that this could continue to happen with this property, but if anybody else were to want to move into the area or cut off additional land for their family, they could point to these 2 parcels and say, well, we've already done it twice. Why not do it again? And so the longer term concern is Mr. Arthur has an active farm. There are multiple active farms in the area. If we continue to piecemeal this away and we can point to these 2 properties as a starting point for that and say, well, we've already done it, it's going to continue to become more residential, and that just doesn't comport with the long-term plan for the area.
I'm having a real hard time. You said Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
You in the room?
Yeah,
That's
right.
you?
Yeah.
I'm just absolutely blown away that you would have counsel to oppose a house that already exists, sir.
It's not about the house, it's just, we just want her to have 4 acres or more.
Chairman, please, stand up.
Yeah.
Let him have time and then bring it back to the board.
That's fine. All right,
I don't have anything further.
thank you. Anyone else here to speak opposition? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carol Franklin, and we own a 130-acre tract that begins at 920 Griffith Road and stretches to 1288 Griffith Road. We have Reservoir U on the map, and the back side of our property borders the Seagraves property. My father bought the land in 1980 in good faith for it to be maintained as an agricultural exotic animal farm. We have bison, we have donkeys, we have emus, and we do a lot of work on the farm to maintain the agricultural integrity of the community. Just recently, y'all had the moratorium passed where you didn't want to see all of these A1 and A2s rezoned to R1 and R2s. In recent memory, I think a year ago, you had the old Hanley house situated, I believe, at 722 Griffith Road that had to have a rezone request because the driveway didn't meet the conformity and all of this, and his well was on the property behind them, and then y'all approved that. Well, that sets up for another house to go between that 1895 farmhouse and our 924 driveway. So once again, the slippery slope idea comes into play. I certainly understand families trying to subdivide land, and we're okay with something along the lines of 4 acres or 10 acres, but when you start doing one house per two, you have it here, you have it here, you have it across the street, and where does it end? There's no consistency in maintaining the moratorium this body had passed 2 such years ago. So our property, the backside is forest and woods where, it's used for recreational shooting and such, and it borders the back, most 3/4 of the boundary of the backside of the property that's before you tonight. And we were just asked, we don't want to see subdivisions. If you start now, where's the end that they're not going to come back? We've already had 2 rezone requests on the original Seagraves tract in less than 2 years' time. So how are we going to maintain consistency to maintain the agricultural landscape of the community? There is 40-something plus households on the Griffith Road and Moons Grove side that stand together opposed to this. And we just urge you, this is farmland. These are ANSYS property that Justin now is managing. All of that land is on the left side past our property. Southern Cross Farms is who Justin Arthur's properties are. And both of our families and the Dove families have owned land for more than half a century. And so we all stand united in opposition to the rezone request before you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else here to speak in opposition to this rezone request? Hearing none, we'll close the floor, bring it back before the board. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Rebuttal.
Oh, yes. Is anything, I'm sorry, you're right. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I'm good.
All right. We'll close the floor, bring it back before the board. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Rick, I'd make a motion that this request be approved.
Motion by Commissioner Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Was that Mr. Kirk? Second by Mr. Kirk. Any discussion, gentlemen?
My inclination to approve this rezone request is the property in question, the cutout, so to speak, is surrounded by ARs, R1s, A2s that are small lots. And this particular lot or parcel that we're looking to create, unless I'm missing something on the map, y'all's property is insulated from this by another larger tract. Would that be accurate to say that the parent tract of this? Where are y'all touching this small lot?
The entire property on the back side of the whole lot.
Yeah,
lot.
but you're...
What's going to stop it from being subdivided further? We've already had 2 in less than a year's time, and we didn't even get notification of the first one.
if part of my motion was that this property not be divided again, would that?
I mean, we would still like to maintain at least 1 for 4 or 1 for 10. I mean, there's not anything along Griffith Road or that front side hardly that's less than that.
Ma'am, I know there's, and yeah, devil's advocate again, I know there's 38 parcels on Griffith Road or right off of Griffith Road that's doing that because the county's applied for grants to run water lines to that because of a failure by, I believe it's Piedmont Well.
You must be speaking of Northwood Circle where the trailers are.
Shady Lane.
Yeah, but that's not, I mean, that's one side street with mobile homes on it. We've got a lot of problems on that street with a crack house and axe murder that took place. Trespassers were constantly battling. I mean, we got more public service, public safety issues coming off of that street than one can imagine as it is. I mean, we've got trespassers fishing, we've got trespassers hunting on our land. We're constantly fighting that with people putting tree stands right on the property line, killing our animals. We're fixing to get the game warden to put a stop to that. And that's on the backside of this property that borders this land over here.
Yes, ma'am, we gotta stick with the question.
Okay, well,
But thank you.
the hunting and everything else is important in this area, so.
Any other questions, gentlemen? Any other statements? I have a motion and a second.
I'll speak as I turn, so, I truly, I understand the concern of, setting a precedent, whatnot. I think what is weighed in my mind heavily is there's an existing facility there, the existing home. Regardless of the age or appropriateness of it, due to time, but there's a structure there that is there. I do understand, or at least in my mind, I do understand the concern. I think we do have some protections in place that maybe prevent a wholesale change, and we do want to preserve the cultural resources that we have and the farming relevance to it. We get caught up a lot of times, I think, and we get hit with certain last will and testaments of certain people, and I'm not, it's anybody that wants to leave something to their children or grandchildren. So I want to see this as a continuation of that, and with the appropriate road frontage is there. It's able to remove my reservation.
All right, any other discussion, gentlemen?
In my mind, this is one of the hardest kind of things we face. And we're sure y'all are aware we're right in the middle of discussion of appropriate lot size minimums for the AR zone. If that discussion goes to a 2-acre minimum, this becomes an AR label instead of an R1 label. And then a lot of the discussion just goes away because of that label. Maybe it'd be appropriate for, if that happens, this becomes an AR instead of R1. I don't know if we could do that now. But this is one of the hardest ones in the absence of that R1 label. Any concern in my mind goes away.
Yeah, I just might as well speak it while I'm thinking it, because I've been thinking it. This goes back to, you see this in District 4 a bunch, okay? I mean, we got large A1s, A2s and all that, and then you got family members that want to get smaller parcels. The only option we got is do it R1 unless they do 4 acres in AR. That's one reason, in my mind, I was satisfied I could have done 2 acres in AR back when we were voting for it, but, that's not where we went with that. So, I'll just say that I see it in this situation that it's appropriate, but I agree. We don't want to set a precedent so that we can start selling off farmland and putting a bunch of R1s in there that, that happens. I mean, we don't want to see that in any district, and we definitely don't want to see that happening in District 4, which is, my constituents are very concerned about also. So you can know that this board is concerned about that. We're looking at that and how we can, have some things, and as Commissioner Doster has said, we're trying to put some things in place to help to make sure we got some check and balances on
Hearing no other discussion. Commissioner Kirk?
Yes. Yes.
No.
All right, motion carries 3-2. Christopher Vaughn, Mr. Scott?
Okay, before I go to the next one, just, on behalf of the planning and zoning, this was discussed a lot. We're in a little different situation as y'all. We have to follow what we consider what is written. So, you know.
Not always easy, sir.
Yeah. So.
Y'all do a good job.
Going to the next one is, Christopher Bond is requesting to rezone a 4-acre portion of his property from A2 to AR to split and give his son. The remaining 12.40 acres will stay in the A2 zone. The property is located at 1780 Collins Brook Road in Danielsville, map 94, parcel 018-02 of District 4. There was a public hearing. No one came forward in favor. No one came forward in opposition. After much discussion, the planning and zoning voted 5-0 to recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vaughn, are you comfortable with that presentation? Is there anything you'd like to add, sir?
Good, thank you.
You are? All right. Anyone here speak in favor of this rezone request? Anyone here speak in opposition to this rezone request? Hearing none, gentlemen, I'll bring it back before the board and entertain a motion.
I'm making a motion to approve this request.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Kirk, second by Commissioner Chandler. Gentlemen, any discussion on this one? Hearing none, Commissioner Doster.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion carries, sir.
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I want to say, thank y'all, and I want to go ahead and give my son something, because I've always had to work for everything I've had.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Mighty nice motion, sir. Old business, consider 2025-2026 Madison County Employment Insurance Renewal Plan with Cigna Health Insurance. And at this point, I'm gonna let Ms. Baxter take it from here on this one.
Yeah, Mark 3 came at the beginning of April and did a presentation. I was supposed to put on the April 28th agenda, and I messed up and forgot. So we need the board to vote on option 1 or option 2 tonight. We have open enrollment beginning to May the 12th. The difference between option 1 and option 2, and I'll look at it, make sure I've got them correctly. I believe that option 1, there is an increase in the renewal. Option 1 takes that percentage of the increase and keeps it with its appropriate plan. For option 2, takes the overall increase and divides it evenly as a 6% increase from all 3 plans. I believe one of them, both of them are.
Does that mean that by doing that, then the employees, if they choose one of the plans, would take the one that will cost them more, right?
It depends. Some of the plans will have a very minimum increase, where others would have a higher increase. So that was why when we were talking on Mark 3, we asked them to give us, if we took that increase, I think one was like a 3%, one was a 10% increase, and then there was another that didn't really change at all. So instead of, you having certain employees that have such a large jump, then you just spread it between all employees.
But that's the 2 options. One of them is to keep it, spread it over the 6, and the other option is to, it would be spread up on the other.
Yes. So option 1, the cost to the county is, they're both 2.582, and then when you get into the hundreds of dollars, that's where you get the different amounts. So we're really talking about $310 difference between the 2 to the county is what the cost difference is going to be between option 1 and option 2. But I believe it is.
And I'm sorry, I wasn't at that meeting.
I was there, but I shared 16.
So, page 6 shows you the cost to the county, the overall cost for option 1, option 2. Pages 7, 8, and 9 show you the cost to the employee for the low plan, the high plan, and then the local provider plan. So that shows you how kind of the different options affect the county. So like on page 7, that middle active month rates, that's option 1. And then the third section of active monthly rates, that's option 2. And then on the next page, they actually label it as the next 2 pages.
Do we know, okay, is it time for discussion or questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do we know how many employees take which plan?
Yes, sir. On page 8, well, that's, yeah, it shows you the employee only and spouse, page 9.
So we got, basically, we've got 18 employees that have the employee spouse, employee children, employee family.
It's pretty well split down the middle in a way. If you look at your low plan,
Yeah, there's 74 employees on the low plan, there's 78 employees on the high plan,
Yeah.
and there's 5 employees on the local provider plan.
I don't know how to word this, but I would be inclined to let the employees, let it be driven by what the employee wants rather than spread the cost out among everybody so that somebody gets a better plan by somebody else paying for it. Does that make sense?
it does, it does.
I don't know how to put that in motion, but.
So it'll be option 1.
Option 1.
There you go.
Okay, so.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
No, I got it.
You want that motion now, then?
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we go with option 1 and the employees pay based on the insurance that they desire.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner May. Any discussion, gentlemen? I tell you, it's painstaking negotiating with these insurance companies. We spent back and forth several weeks, and it's honest. It starts off with a number out of a hat. They just throw a number at you and say, we're going to increase 28%. I'm like, well, I ain't doing 28. I'll do 6. And then they come back at 15, and you say, I'll do 6. And they come back at 10, you say, I'll do 6. And then you finally land on somewhere around 7, and you think to yourself, what happened to the other 22? And it's really frustrating, but, I mean, we've been very fortunate for 5 years to be able to negotiate. If we didn't pay close attention, we'd already be up 100%. Just how bad it is. Instead, we're up with 30 over a period of 5 years. So.
For all the work that's been put into it, thank you.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is
a
still
team
much
effort.
better than what our friends at the BOE are having to deal with.
But yeah, well, they're stuck on that state deal.
Yeah.
I know they wish they had options, because I talked yesterday, and I think they're gonna catch about a 2.5 this year. 2.5 million.
Yeah.
All right, so, hearing no other discussion, Mr. Dolphin?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, and, gotcha.
Option 1.
Yeah, option 4.
You should have gone home and had supper.
I'm Tina. What I have is just real quick. So originally, whenever I presented the commercial rates for tier 3, meter size 4 through 12 were calculated incorrectly in between around 3 cents. So it's just a 3 cent difference, but because that rate did change for 4 through 12 inch, I just needed to bring it before you all to review for approval.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Dawson, second by Commissioner Chandler. Any discussion? And this is the good part about getting it out by email, so they've already got time to look at it, so it goes that fast, but thank you. So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, Commissioner Atkins?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
What's that?
I don't know where I'm at.
Good evening. I'm coming to you to request the use of our funds that we have set aside from the rebates that we have been given from Sportography. This is our review company. So we would like to use a portion of the funds to finish the restrooms at Diamond Hill. This would be to replace the partitions that are currently there, which is plywood. So that will be replacing them with the same style that we have at the old gym that we just said. So with that, the demo of the old partitions would be done by our building maintenance, and then Classic City Doors would install the new partitions there. The ADA bars and the diaper changing stations would be installed by our building maintenance. So that is a rough cost of about $3,100, $3,200 there.
You had a surplus off the pictures of what, how much?
So currently in the line item right now, we have approximately $12,000
Okay.
of rebate funds from Sportography.
I appreciate you bringing this before the board because I think that was part of the motion last year when we re-upped with the sports photography, is that you would come before us to let us know where the proceeds go, or at least a request, so I do appreciate that. That's good because that'll give you roughly $8,000 to move somewhere to another request.
Yes.
Because we know they're coming.
Yes. So the second part of that is to renovate the lower concession stand. And I know the chairman indicated his concern about spending money on renovating that due to concession stands sometimes being open, sometimes not being open. So what I've presented to you is it's every day this season, the spring season, that the concession has been open. Concession stands are not a moneymaker by any means, especially when you factor in the staff to run it. We've had this discussion before about using concessionaires. No one ever submitted RFPs. We are going to try to do that again for 2026, as we have had someone indicate that they do want to do that. It's the same company that actually runs for Jackson County and Jefferson. So even if we did go with a concessionaire, we still need to update the concession stand itself. It is very outdated. The cabinets that are in there, again, not very sanitary. Everything needs to come out. We need to put in the stainless just like we did at Diamond Hill to bring everything updated. So with that, we already have the equipment, so we're not replacing any of the equipment. We're just literally taking out all the cabinets, refreshing everything with paint, fixing any of the electrical issues that we may need, putting everything back, stainless tables, brand new sink, that kind of thing. So,
Tell me again, which one are, which concession?
the lower concession stand. So
At the football
lower
field?
is down there at the shop, so where T-ball and fields 4 and 5 are. That concession stand gets a lot of use, especially with the amount of T-ballers we have and when we have games and activities. So that concession stand is one, aside from River Phillips, is one that is open quite often, almost daily is when it's open. So the cost of that, again, the demo would be done by our rec maintenance staff, and then the update of any electrical, and then the install of the sink and the tables would be done by our building maintenance.
What is the total cost on that?
Total cost that I have been given from that is about $4,200.
So 42 for the concession and about 3,000 for the restrooms?
Roughly, yes.
4,600.
Okay.
Are the restrooms, I see that we're doing
new partitions and all, are we doing new fixtures in there?
We just replaced the fixtures, like the toilets and everything, we just replaced
Will
those.
everything be ADA
So
compliant?
everything would be ADA, yes, sir.
What about the restrooms there in that lower concession stand?
The restroom at the lower concession stand is a whole new ballgame. They are supposedly ADA, but they are not. And I say that because
Reason I
there,
asked, I know that restroom needs help.
yes, it does. It does. It is one thing that, talking with TC and Paul, building maintenance, it may be where we need to swap the men's and women's, just like we did over here, to accommodate and make things more ADA accessible. That process is part, or especially as part of that master plan for that building down there, is maybe adding space to the back, because there is where we can add on to the shop to make those restrooms bigger. So that's a whole different
So is
project.
there a need for them to be bigger? I know they need to be better.
It is a need for them to be bigger, yes, sir. It is very tight. The men's not so much, but again, the women's side is very, very tight, which is why I say that it may be where swapping, just like we did over here at the old gym, would benefit more than just trying to keep them where they are and just making the women's bigger, if that makes sense. I'm a visual person, so.
Shelley, I live, and forgive me, but I live in a world that we deal with the ADA stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's ADA or it's not. There's no in between. There's no gray area there. You know, I think Derek would agree with me on that. What I would like personally, what I would like to see on this is, rather than piecemeal it and say, well, we changed the fixtures last year, 6 months ago, now we're going to change the partitions, the grab bars, the accessories in the bathrooms. I think I'd like to see you get with the county maintenance folks, put it together as a project, put hard numbers on it, and let's go from there and be done with this.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is you get one person, and forgive me, but you get the one person that goes in there, and a petition swings the wrong way, and then you're gonna hear, I couldn't get out, or the grab bar was too high, or the toilet's not far enough off the wall. If we're gonna do it, let's just do it right and be done with it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The only thing is, I said, let's don't dilly-dally on it, because I've been to a lot of different, around us, rec departments and their restrooms and stuff like that, and ours are just flat out embarrassing compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
Let's do better, you know, and I'm not picking on anybody, I'm just saying.
No, I agree.
As a county, we need to do better.
That's not on you as much as it is. If we're gonna do it,
Let's do it, yeah.
do it.
I agree.
So just for minutes clarification, are we talking about Diamond Hill bathrooms?
Yes.
Or are y'all speaking of Sammy Haggard lower part of it?
Sammy Haggard lower part, well,
That's what I thought y'all were talking
Yeah.
about, which is something
Different.
in addition to this.
So I would say let's move forward with the Diamond Hill restrooms and then stop at that point to give you time to reevaluate the restrooms at Sammy Haggard.
Okay.
The restroom and concession stand, that whole building, is that what we're?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we need to reevaluate the whole thing as a concept
Okay.
to fix the building. But we can go ahead and do the Diamond Hill restrooms now, because once that's out of sight, out of mind, one thing you get to check off. This other's a lot bigger project, so we have to look at it from a different view.
As a budget line item is the way I would envision it.
And my point is sort of stay with it and make sure that it gets to be somewhat of a little priority there.
So out of the sports photography, you're gonna get your $3,200, right?
Okay.
And then the remainder stays there until we get the plan, and we'll take that and add it to whatever else is needed to fix the rest of that building. I think I would rather go with that approach, because that's what I'm hearing.
When you say the restroom, we're only talking to that side of the main shop, right? Because the building is the entire.
Look at it and let us know what design is right.
Okay.
Can we get it right within the walls that are there?
Gotcha.
Or if we cannot, what is the plan?
Correct.
To make it right. I'm good. There you go. All right. Then what that plan costs,
Yes, sir.
and what it will look like.
And where the money come from.
Where's the-
Yeah, where the money's coming from.
And based on the figures you
I guess
gave us,
that's
we
where
tried
we
to
figure it out. That's where y'all do it.
So we know we got, you start out with $12,000 for that photography, we use $3,200 on Diamond Hill. So we're starting off with $8,800. And then.
And I'll
based on
say
what the plan-
for this year for photography, we have, our rebate that we've received back this year so far is $5,600.
Okay, so that's potentially more that's already there.
Yes.
So I don't know that we actually need a vote on this, just to be honest, it's within my power, but now that I got
Come show us.
now that I have an understanding,
Yes, sir, I will.
now that you and I have an understanding, we can work on it.
Okay.
Does that last vote mean that they got a vote
They
now?
had a
That's
vote,
what I thought.
that's how they voted.
Oh, was
They approved
it?
the contract,
Oh,
yes.
all right.
The board has.
I need a motion to
So,
approve.
I know y'all, I know it's late, but when do you need to present that back to the board? When's your off season to do construction?
So
Let
originally.
me just do the motion this way. I move that the Recreation Department proceed with the plans as presented to make the corrections on Diamond Hill restrooms out of the funds from the photography rebate and the approximate amount, $3,200, and to bring back to us a plan for the renovation of the concession stand and bathrooms at the lower facility at Sandy Hagar.
I have a motion by Commissioner Chandler. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Daughtry, he's waiting.
Do we want a date on when you want those plans back? And
I think that's
I
what
think that's,
Kristen,
We'll figure it out.
okay.
At least that covers the motion for this part, because the rest of
but
it.
we can go ahead and get Diamond Hill
Yes.
moving and finish up that project.
Oh, geez, I just remembered something.
Thank you.
Urgent matters?
No.
Wait, got
We'll
to
go.
vote.
Oh, I thought we did. Sorry, I got one, and I got the second by Daughtry. All right, any other discussion?
No.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any urgent matters? Now I need to close, the public meeting, and we'll need to,
Yeah, need a quick executive session for one detail.
very quickly, it's gonna take us longer to,
If our three remaining guests would be willing to excuse us, we could
we
stay
don't even have
here.
to get up.
Yeah, we don't have, we'll come over the door in 1 minute, I hope.
David, anything particular here for?
I didn't know one of you guys were gonna say, does the IDA have anything to do with this on the,
Oh, that was,
on the plan?
that was in
And
here in favor of.
Yeah.
You feel like for most of the board meetings, IDA has to have presence here.
That's 100%.
Maybe get better than me, maybe you're one of the others, but no, my whole purpose was in case something came up about that block plan, and all I could really say is it meets the requirements of light industry as far as we're concerned, but I wasn't gonna swing it one way or the other.
Yeah. And just for the future, yes, if somebody wants to be here, that would be amazing to have somebody here. And it's secondly, either when it's in favor of